better, but fuck it. What's the deal? Welcome to Don Dada Reactions. Happy Thursday, y'all. As you could tell by the title, Thursdays is Throwback Thursdays, okay? So on Thursdays, what we're going to do is we're going to do throwbacks, okay? And it's going to be Black History. So as you could tell how this channel will be going, it'll be more like predominantly Black. It's to wake up our people. A lot of us are going through a lot of trauma, depression, things like that. You know, history was repeated, and some history was taken out. Some history was switched, but with other characters. So where you thought they should have been Black, they was white. You know what I mean? But that's how the white people want everybody to look like the white people was conquering shit, but they wasn't really. We was conquering stuff. So if you like to know who did what, how they did it, and how powerful and how excellent we are as melanated people, then I'll see you here on the Thursday shows, Throwback Thursdays, Black History. Okay. So now I know the camera is a little bit because I'm working off the laptop camera, but as I grow this channel and we keep developing, we're gonna be getting new stuff and all that. Background will be good and all that. So don't worry about that. It's too much real shit going on. Could worry about the fake. All right. Welcome to Don Dada Reactions. Well, over here we do react to videos. All right. So now today is Herriet and Tubman. We got to start back, y'all. We got to go all the way back. I know this might be bored to a lot of y'all, but that's because your mind is not expanded. You would rather go over there and see what the white man got for your ass and what they got for history. You feel me? But if you are very pro-Black and you trying to get back to our people, and in order to know the truth, we got to go back to the roots. In order to help us today, we have to at least see what the hell we was doing back in the days. It's just crazy how we smiling each other face and all this and what's up, homie, and all that. But then you envy, you're plotting, it's all this extra stuff. You know what I mean? Even the Pooh Shiesty and Gucci Man, that could have been handled between two kings way better than what it was handled already. You know what I mean? But let's go. Let's get into this video because it is long and we're going to be doing some reactions to it because I would like to see. This is not just for you. This is also for me. You know what I mean? I'm expanding my brain. I'm trying to, like Michael Jackson said, it's the person in the mirror. It's the woman for me in the mirror, but it might be the man for you in the mirror. You know what I mean? So let's go. Let's get into it. All right, Herriet Tubman, let's go.
Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race, so I don't have to run this race in vain.
Amen.
Oh, stand by me while I run this race, so I don't have.
So that's what Kendrick Lamar was trying to do. He said, I'm just trying to show these niggas the ropes before they hang from a rope. Cold bar. See, but we take things for granted. Nigga, we was hanging from ropes. Why do we look at each other in the store like, nigga, we each other enemy? Nigga, we both of our people was on the road.
Harriet Tubman. They called her the Moses of her people. Called her that because she led so many people out of slavery, like the Moses of old. She led them out on what they call the Underground Railroad. Of course, you understand, it wasn't a real railroad at all. It was a network of people who, like Herriet, believed that it was okay for slaves to escape from slavery. 90, 100 miles of walking late at night through swamps, through woods, been chased by dogs sometime. And don't you know, sometimes people would get scared and want to go back, but Herriet, she always kept a 6-shooter strapped to her side underneath her skirt. When they got to getting nervous and scared, she'd pull that 6-shooter out and say, all right, you move on or you'll die. And everybody would move on.
She said, you gonna move on or you gonna die trying, nigga.
She brought over 300 people out of slavery like that on the Underground Railroad and never lost a passenger.
Harriet Tubman was born Harriet Ross around 1820. Her exact birthday isn't known because, like many slaves, her date of birth was never recorded. She lived with her parents and 10 brothers and sisters on a plantation on the eastern shore of Maryland. When Harriet was 5 years old, she was hired out as a domestic servant. She slept on the kitchen floor, poking her feet under the fireplace ashes when the nights grew cold. For meals, she shared table scraps with her master's dogs.
Actual slavery was economic, it was legal, it was personal. It was a situation in which the slave had no rights. A person who was a slave could not walk down the next block without having someone else who owned her or who owned him say explicitly, yes, you may do that. A slave was someone who could be forced to work from the age of 8, 6, 4 even, long hours at tasks that someone else decided.
Young Herriet repeatedly failed at domestic work, and by the
See, and they was forced in slavery. Now, slavery is they give you an application and you figure out what slave plantation you want to go to. You feel me?
time she was in her early teens, was known as a strong but surly laborer, unfit for indoor work, yet useful as a field hand. She could plow, chop wood, and drive a team of oxen more efficiently than most men.
She worked on the farm like the men, hoeing and planting and plowing and that kind of work. And her overseer would whip her every day. Every day she would get whipped.
She had to be more or less obedient to her master. They told her when to go to bed, when to get up, when to work and such. And she had a rebellious spirit.
Shit, you would have thought she was in prison. Ain't that what's going on in there? It's like they took the jobs and you take prison and you put them motherfuckers together. I think you got slavery for sure, for sure.
And she said that slavery was against the law of God.
I agree.
In 1831, when Herriet was about 11, Nat Turner, a slave on a Virginia plantation, led an army of 60 rebel slaves against their white masters.
The slaves are known to have used protests virtually from their time of departure from the slave castles on the African West Coast primarily, in which they resisted the attempt to be enslaved, to become enslaved. They attempted to escape on ships by simply, if the opportunity offered itself, by leaping off and drowning or whatever. Once they were bound by the continental United States, the protests took the form more of insurrection. Slaves fighting against the system, and they fought against the system whether.
Every month, this Airbnb
No
pays
matter
about
what, we was fighting.
$2,700 in semi-passive income.
Whether they were in the North or the South.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, no matter what, I feel like nowadays they can't try that type of stuff where we gonna be, oh, we gonna just do slavery now, martial law, whatever the heck gonna be. I think a lot of us is gonna crash out, and we don't care if we go or not. You feel me? Whether we are already reincarnated, what if we are our ancestors? And that's why we feel like, nigga, this time around, we ain't going now, nigga. Squabble up. You feel me?
I'm gonna cross the rivers of Jordan. I'm gonna cross the rivers of Jordan some of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna cross the rivers of Jordan. Tell God how you treat me some of these days.
When Herriet was 15 years old, her compassionate nature proved to have disastrous results.
Because she had chosen to block the door when there was an attempt to capture a runaway slave, and she herself was placed in the way of a 2-pound weight which struck her head and which undoubtedly fractured her skull and left her with some sort of affliction.
Herriet fell into a coma and endured a long period of recovery.
As I lay so sick on my bed from Christmas to March, I was always praying for poor old master. Oh, Lord, convert old master. Change that man's heart and make him a Christian.
She suffered periodic sleeping fits for the rest of her life as a result of this injury. In 1844, Herriet married John Tubman, a free black man, but this did not change Herriet's status as a slave. Her husband, like her masters, wanted to control her, threatening that if she were to run away, he would betray her. In 1849, Tubman's worst fears came true. She heard that 2 of her sisters had been sold and were already in chains heading south.
Then I heard that as soon as I was able to move, I was to be sent with my brothers in a chain gang to the far south.
So when you think about it, her sisters were sold and took them to the south. Now, just to say that the other sisters, even though they went to the south together, that don't mean that they wasn't separated. You feel me? So when you think about it, and I always wonder how we get so many Johnsons, so many Griffins, so many of this, Browns. We all are family. We humping each other. If you a Johnson and you know a Johnson, y'all know each other. We are all family, for real, for real.
Herriet knew it was time to go, and she persuaded 3 of her brothers to go with her. Her father had shown her how to use the night sky as a compass. She assured her brothers that she could guide them. Herriet Tubman knew better than to ask her husband to come along, or even to let him know that she was going. She left at night with her brothers, but fearing the unknown, they insisted on turning back. Herriet turned back with them. Herriet learned through another slave that she was scheduled to be sold south the next day. This time she knew she would have to run away alone. She had learned an important lesson which she would never forget. Freedom is only for those bold enough to take it. Not able to trust her husband, Tubman wanted someone in her family to know she was leaving on her own, that she was not on her way south.
She walked by the big house where her sister was working and started singing, "Swing low, sweet chariot, I ain't got long to stay here." So Mary Ann got the message, and she knew what the message was.
They would use coded messages, the slave spirituals, As I said, walk together, children, walk together, children. Don't become weary. We're going to make it to the promised land. I have shoes, you have shoes, all God's children have shoes. When you get to heaven, going to put on their shoes and walk all over God's heaven. Heaven was a code word for Canada.
They had thrown.
When night fell, a stranger hid Tubman in the back of his farm wagon, covered her with vegetables, and drove her to the first stop on the Underground Railroad. She began to learn the route she was to use so often and so effectively in the future. The Underground Railroad was a loose network of people willing to hide runaway slaves in their homes and conduct them to the next station or safe house. Traveling by night, hiding in the daylight, Tubman trudged through 90 miles of swamp and woodland. At last, many days after she started, she found herself across the magic line on free soil.
I looked at my hands to see if I was the same person now that I was free. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven.
Did y'all hear that? She felt as if she was in heaven. Because I want to try to say this enough. I don't want to teach or preach because I'm neither one of those. I'm not a preacher. I'm no teacher. I'm just a reactor. I do reaction videos. And I just want to say this. I did some research and noticed that she said whatever she'd been through, and then she got to the light from the end of the tunnel. And it felt like heaven. Well, that's what I've learned. That heaven and hell is a state of mind. It's not a place you literally go. It's just a state of mind. And that's what these people have been trying to put on us this whole time, brainwashed so we could behave. But like she said, freedom is for those bold enough to take it, and that's mentally as well. Let's go.
Making her way to Philadelphia, Herriet was able to get a job in a hotel kitchen.
That part.
The city had an active abolitionist community.
The Philadelphia Vigilance Committee was a very important group engaged in aiding fugitive slaves. It was a group that had operated from the late 1830s into the early 1840s, and it was comprised of fugitives as well as free blacks and white supporters. It was a group that aided the Underground Railroad, and their primary job was to aid fugitives with food and clothing and money, and to direct them on to other places. When Harriet Tubman arrived in Philadelphia, she affiliated herself with this group, and this group supported her in her return to Maryland and the Eastern Shore to free other fugitives.
Usually when slaves ride with Harriet Tubman, for instance, the Johnson House or any other house along the Freedom Trail, the first thing she would do, she would give a soft knock on the door. And usually there was the answer, "Who's there?" A friend with a friend. It was the coded words. Then
Well, first of all, we really don't even know all this stuff is true. This is all still he say, she say. But if we could sit there and read the Bible and believe what they said from he say, she say, we could do the same for our black people that achieve something, because this story sounds really good. And what type of black woman wouldn't want this type of motivation? To know that you got all these, it's a lot of females with hella kids, feel like they can't never make it or nothing. Just look at Harriet Tubman. Set them kids free and you go run away. Run away from the damn kids. You feel me?
occupant would know that Harriet Tubman was there or another conducting underground with slaves. And the password was given and the passwords were returned.
So Harriet Tubman is someone who, through her own devices, through her own exertion, overcame slavery, became free, and then even more so, went back and brought other people with her. So she has freedom, 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 freedom.
Let freedom ring.
Herriet made many trips south, but by 1851, the Fugitive Slave Act made these trips all the more dangerous. Tubman heard ominous news of fugitive slaves arrested and returned to the South from previously safe cities in Massachusetts and New York.
I never closed my eyes that I did not imagine that I saw the horsemen coming and heard the screams of women and children as they were being dragged away.
Philadelphia was no longer a safe place for Herriet to work. She moved to St. Catharines, Canada, a small town near Niagara Falls, where many free blacks and former slaves had settled. Now, instead of 90 miles, she had to conduct her passengers on a grueling journey of almost 500 miles.
She stole away into the night and crept along the various slave quarters or cabins, oftentimes whispering or knocking on doors, more or less singing, steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. I ain't got long to stay here, or the coded spiritual, informing the slaves to steal away.
She was a very courageous and brave woman as she, in turn escaped from slavery and then went back to help others do the same. So she, even in the early stages, she was giving back to her, you could call her community. She was helping her brothers and sisters get to where she had already gotten.
That part.
By 1850.
Did y'all hear that? She was helping her brothers and sisters get to where she have already gotten. See, now I'm noticing for some reason we are in the age, okay? So we're spirits having a human experience. So right now, this little age we in, watch out. Watch out for your friend. Watch out for your homie. Watch out for your watch out for the nigga who's even on. This nigga on. He got way more than you. Ain't nothing that you can do. Like, hate won't even help you at this point. Ain't no need. And that motherfucker that's on don't want the person that's not on to be on. It's something about the people that's on right now. They the ones acting weird. But Herriet Tubman did not do that. She looked out for her people. But right now, it seemed like our people, she would be rolling in her grave right now to hear this. That our people won't even look out for each other. Won't even give the shirt off your back. But you would say you would, but you really won't. You only would do it just to tell the people that you did it. But would you really do it without nobody watching? That's what's wrong with us. We need to change.
Before, Herriet Tubman had become a legend among the slaves and a demon to the slave holders. Posters announced a reward for Herriet Tubman, sometimes called Moses, worth $12,000 to any person who delivered her to the authorities. The countryside swarmed with bounty hunters. In 1857, Tubman settled down in Auburn, New York. The small town was to be Tubman's home for the rest of her life. Before emancipation, she would make 19 excursions into the South, delivering more than 300 slaves, including family, from the land that had tried and failed to keep her in bondage. It was on these pilgrimages that she met Frederick Douglass and John Brown, leaders in the abolitionist movement. John Brown recruited a small band of free blacks and fugitive slaves for an attack on the arsenal at Harper's Ferry. What he needed now was black leadership, charismatic figures who could inspire and lead these volunteers.
So that's how I know we are spirits having a human experience. It's not just the race, because we can't all just put a race. This man is not African American, and he's willing to help the African Americans or melanated people. Just like JFK, just like Lincoln, and what happened to them? These people will take out their own kind if they feel like they're trying to help the other people. It's the dog-eat-dog world out here. And that's what I'm saying. Us, as we have to start looking out for ourselves, because we already got to look after everybody else. And then we still got to look over our shoulders for each other. This is a messed up race, bro. I'm trying to be Herriet Tubman. I got to run away from this shit.
I believe there were two such leaders in the United States, Frederick Douglass and Herriet Tubman. During the winter of 1858 and 59, Tubman met with John Brown and others in Boston to confer about the plans at Harper's Ferry.
Harriet Tubman would have been with John Brown at Harper's Ferry had she not become ill at the time. And so therefore, I think that the course of history was changed perhaps by her illness.
Brown's efforts failed. He was captured, tried, and executed.
After the Harper's Ferry raid was a failure, Harriet Tubman, like many other African-American abolitionists, had to distance herself from Brown and from the raid because her name, like that of Douglass and many others, was bantered around as one of those who was supportive and involved in the raid indirectly.
As the North-South split widened, the South called for strict enforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act and an end to the Underground Railroad.
There were many people who didn't like the idea that the Underground Railroad was existing at all. Black people and white people, there were black spies and white spies who would sell their soul for $5 for a bottle of liquor, whatever, to reveal the hiding places of these fugitive slaves.
History repeats itself. This is why we're doing Thursdays. Throwback Thursdays. Did y'all not just hear something that just sound familiar? History repeats itself. We ain't doing nothing new. Niggas been having niggas like this that's selling their souls, gatekeepers, snitching. You tell them where the hiding spot is for $5 for McDonald's? I don't care if $5 back then was $500. I don't care. All I'm trying to say is we can't get mad at what's going on right now because it's already been happening. We just have to stop this, break the cycle. Stop it. There's no more getting emotional. There's no more getting mad. For what? He ain't did it first. All these snitches, nigga, it's snitches everywhere. These niggas snitching for $5. Wow, that's diabolical.
The issue of slavery continued to divide the Union. 7 states in the South withdrew from the Union to form the Confederate States of America. The Civil War had begun.
We mourn not that the man should toil. 'Tis nature's need, 'tis God's decree. But let the hand that tills the soil be like the wind that fans it free.
As Union troops advanced through Maryland in the spring and summer of 1861, large numbers of slaves left their plantations to join the Northern soldiers. These contrabands, many of them illiterate, malnourished, and ill, flooded the Union Army camps. Overwhelmed, Union Army commanders sent out a call for teachers and nurses. Hundreds of Northerners responded, among them, Herriet Tubman. Aware of her work on the Underground Railroad, Union officers sometimes used her to lead spy missions.
She was called to lead a group of soldiers because she knew the elements, the forests, the swamps, and so forth. So she led them into a small skirmish, and she was able to retrieve valuable information during that period for the Union Army.
Later that year, Tubman accepted an assignment to lead a force of 150 black soldiers and 3 steam-powered gunboats up the Combahee River. They destroyed Confederate munitions and supplies, and in the process freed 800 slaves.
Thank God.
To Tubman's credit, no one was killed or even hurt. She would continue to perform this important work until the war ended.
And this is a whole woman. Like, we got to start giving our women a lot of more credit. And then we sitting here nowadays, this is another thing I be looking at too. We put a lot of titles on a gender. Oh no, you can't do that. That's a man's job. Oh, you're not supposed to. That's for women. The fuck? I like the shit that we gotta stop doing. You didn't know that video, that long time ago commercial says anything you could do, I can do, but it shouldn't say better. It just says I can do. Even though it says better, that shouldn't be like that. That was another manipulation between genders. You shouldn't do that. There's no comparison between a man and a woman. You a man, nigga, I'm a woman, and that is what it is. I could drive a truck, nigga, you could drive a truck. It ain't nothing about who's better. I could free the people, you could free the people. She's a whole woman. But I'm sure that what they would have thought is if they would have said this person freed the slaves and all that, they would have straight up thought it was a man. But it was a woman the whole time. So that just lets you know, stop pitting titles on a gender. Whether it's a man or a woman, then we could all do the same thing, period. It's whoever wants to do it.
Almost 2 years later.
She was not formally employed. She was informally employed, but that was not unusual at that time. Many others were also. So she was neither paid during the war, and after the war, she did not receive it. The government turned her down. And it meant then that for many years, and particularly as she got older, that she became poverty-stricken. And had it not been for the National Association of Colored Women, who, when finding out about her condition, had a national campaign to raise monies to aid her, and indeed they did until her death. This is one of the tragedies of American history, that it refused to recognize the singular services of an American patriot like Harriet Tubman.
When Tubman returned to her home in Auburn, she was about 45 years old, penniless and responsible for 2 aged parents. She planted apple trees and broke ground for a large vegetable garden to feed her family and anyone who came to her door.
After the Civil War, Harriet Tubman settled in Auburn, New York, where she became very active in aiding other African Americans. In many of the communities of the North, like Auburn, you had a number of blacks who were very poor. Many of them worked as laborers. Some of them could not get work. But there was a real problem in that period because institutions for the aged, institutions for delinquents, orphans, and others were not readily available to African Americans. She determined that she would set up a home for the aged there in her own home. And indeed she did.
Appearing at her door in 1869 was another visitor, a tall, handsome man named Nelson Davis. Tubman had met him at a South Carolina Army base. The former soldier asked the former spy to marry him. Despite their age difference of 24 years, she accepted.
Damn, 24 years?
At about
Jeez, she had a sugar daddy.
At this time, Sarah Bradford began writing Herriet's biography. It was first printed in 1869 under the title Scenes in the Life of Herriet Tubman. Bradford published the book, then turned its proceeds, some $1,200, over to Tubman.
Harriet Tubman was able to escape from slavery herself, return to slave territory numerous times, helped hundreds of other slaves to escape, and has been called the Moses of her people in the terms of leading the.
So I wonder by the time she came back, like, did she ever set her husband free? Did her husband ever come with her or what? Because I know he was already a free man. So would he have understood? Did he condone it? You know, I learned about a lot of stuff too. And a lot of spouses, if you guys aren't on the same page, or if you guys can't get to have your foot be put in that other person's shoe, you're never going to understand how another person thinks. So things are never going to work out. Things will always be oil and water, because no one wants to ever take the time out to say, how is this person thinking? Because they're so selfish on thinking, no, my brain is right. This is how it's supposed to be. This is what it's going to be. And that's just what it is. And everybody needs to, and this is why we living under the fuck we living right now, under one rule, one Bible, all this. and everybody got all their thoughts, but your thoughts don't make sense, and it's not right because this person said that they're thinking this, and this is right. Oh boy, I'm just done. Thinking like that, you won't perish through the lack of knowledge, y'all.
Slaves out of slavery into freedom, and she lived a very long and fruitful life, and I think is a shining example of the kinds of things that women were able to achieve under very difficult circumstances.
On March 10th, 1913, Harriet Tubman died of pneumonia at the age of 93.
I came back to Auburn on this beautiful green evergreen tree that shades her grave in a silent cemetery, and I broke down. My emotional armor broke down, and I cried. And I said to myself, how did this woman do it? How did she leave 300 passengers to freedom and never lost one on the Underground Railroad?
It was all in her mind. She did it up here and wasn't scared.
I have wrought in the day, you in the night. I have had the applause of the crowd and the satisfaction that comes from being approved by the multitude, while the most that you have done has been witnessed by a few trembling, scarred, and footsore bondmen and women, whom you have led out of the house of bondage, and whose heartfelt "God bless you" has been your only reward.
Coming for to carry me home.
That was beautiful. What was beautiful? Harriet Tubman, y'all. How do y'all feel about Black history, whether it's Black History Month or not? How do you feel that you got to see someone Black excellence, our Black culture, and this time it was a woman? You see how strong women really are. How did you feel? You know what I mean? It's probably get up out of here because the damn dogs is doing too much. But how did y'all feel about that? I feel good. I feel like even a stronger woman. You see, I'm a masculine woman, as you could tell. And every time I'm always out there in these streets, everybody got their own narrative of what they think I am. You know what I mean? Oh, she don't want to be called a woman. That's what I got told today. This lady said, let me ask you something. If I call you if I call you Ma, how would you feel about that? I said, I wouldn't feel no type of way. I'm a woman. Oh, well, yeah. They said back there that you wouldn't like that. Well, let me get it straight for all y'all straight people. I don't know if y'all really straight, curious or what, because I've never seen a group of straight people in my life that just so worried about the gay community or the LG or whatever somebody else is doing and what they got going on with their genitals and their mouth and their body. This is it's just crazy. I'm sorry, man. Maybe I should put another video for that, huh? Yeah, because I'm about to go in, and this is supposed to be Black History Month, nigga. So let's stop right there because I do got to get with the topics. This topic was all about Miss Harriet Tubman, the Moses in your Bible. So when you see Moses in your Bible, think about Harriet Tubman. You feel me? Because there's no real history or no real pictures of Moses. But there's real pictures of Miss Harriet Tubman. And I'm going to leave that there with y'all. And as we do with our thing and thing it what we do, man, I don't even know what I said, but we get into it. But other than that, thank you for coming through, watching, doing the thing. We're going to get professional as we, but other than that, yeah. Done that out.